Okay, so now let's talk about creating your self-care practice that's going to soothe your nervous system. This is how we will build resilience, is by creating something that you can effortlessly weave into your weekly life. Now, you can either start with this video where we're going to talk about the content of the self-care practice, so all of the tangible ways that you can soothe your nervous system. Or you can start with the next video where I talk about when to practice, how long, and how frequently. Sometimes clients want to start with that before they match it or pair it with the content of the practice. So you choose what's best for you. In this video, we're going to talk about how to soothe your nervous system, to consciously encourage it to switch into that parasympathetic mode, that safety mode, that heal, rest, digest, create, and connect mode. So, how do we do this? The easy answer is by resting or by activating your five senses with a soothing experience. So even just with that answer, you could take that and run with it and go with intuitively wherever you want to go to choose what tangible practice you want to do for resting or activating your five senses with something soothing. I'm going to share with you all of my top favorite practices for these things. So with rest or with align, that's the acronym I created for my top categories for soothing the nervous system. So let's talk about rest first. This is literal. This is our systems need more time sleeping or in stillness or in resting to counteract all of the productivity, hustling, the efforting, the figuring out, the solving, the right? We are able to give our bodies the experience of rest in so many different ways. So practices in this category can look anything like actually getting more sleep, going to sleep earlier, sleeping in later, taking power naps, lying down on the ground for a couple of minutes, closing the eyes for a couple of minutes. It can mean, what other ways are there to rest? Taking a break. So many of my clients, just the act of honoring a lunch break can be a big difference in receiving rest. It can mean having boundaries around when a creative session ends or when a work session ends, when your work day ends, etc. So really giving some intentional energy to weaving more rest into your life. That can look like a lot of different things. I've created a PDF that has these options all written down, as well as what I'm going to go through next is Align, which is the acronym with 5 different categories that we can get into as well. So I encourage you to try to ask the mind not to memorize or remember or understand all of the options that we're discussing here, and really invite your intuition to choose what feels inspiring or interesting, or you're a little curious about, or there's some playful energy around, or that seems really easy. Allow those things to just come up to the surface for you, as opposed to inviting the mind to listen to all the options and really strategize around what is going to be your best option forward. Again, this is all written in a PDF as well, so you can just let this wash over you and take note of, maybe if you have a journal, or if you want to bring up the PDF, etc., to write in of just taking note of what actually feels good in your body. Some little piece of, this is inviting, this is playful, this is curious, this feels really easy. That's the one that I want to choose. That's the one that feels awesome, right? Even if it's just a little spark. So again, we'll just start with rest, getting more rest in your life, whether that's a power nap, whether that's a sleep meditation. I have those Reiki meditations for you if that's something that you want to experiment with. Whether it is lying down on the ground for a couple of minutes, whether it is lying on the ground with your feet up the wall, again, taking a break from productivity in some way, shape, or form. Less efforting, productivity and hustling, and more sleeping, stillness, rest. Category 1. The A in Align stands for air. So when I was talking about how the autonomic nervous system is in charge of keeping those automatic processes going on in our body, like heartbeat and digestion and body temperature and breathing, that all those processes go on without our conscious effort. Breathing is the one that is so magnificent because we are actually able to bring conscious effort to change it, to manipulate it, right? So it's the one that does both. It'll go on without us giving conscious effort, and we can really change it with conscious effort. So there are tons of breathing techniques out there. You might already know one that works well for you. Use that, go with it. The one that I tend to reach for is having longer exhales than inhales, which simply means breathing in for a count of 4, breathing out for a count of 6 or 8. I use that at the start of coaching sessions, at the start of my Reiki sessions, to really invite the nervous system to relax. So any breathing technique is in this category. There's also self-care practices that go with inviting your sense of smell to feel soothed or comforted. So that can look like anything that has to do with essential oils. It can look like burning a candle or incense or Palo Santo or sage that smells really good and comforting to you. That can mean tuning into the aromas connected to your favorite drink that you're drinking, or tuning into the aromas coming up from whatever you're cooking, right? So any way that you're activating your sense of smell very intentionally with something that is soothing for you is in this category. The L is for listen. So many of us are empathic, intuitive, creative people that are easily impacted by our soundscape. And sometimes we're very unconscious of that. This is a big one for a lot of my clients. If we start tuning into and intentionally giving our nervous system the sounds that we most want, to feel grounded and soothed, it can make a big difference. And this is one where we don't even need to only be listening to the sound. You can play music or play nature sounds in the background while you're doing work, while you're doing something else, while you're making dinner for everyone, etc. So tuning into your soundscape. What do you most want to listen to? This can be music, this can be meditations, this can be an inspiring podcast, this can be, did I already say nature sounds? Not sure. Some other meditation. And a really big one here is you might most need silence. Again, when we're so overstimulated, you might just need a couple of minutes with no sound. So that could be part of your practice in this category. The I in Align is for intentionally consume. So our nervous systems were not created to be taking in, consuming, and processing all of the stresses and stories of everything that's happening around the world to all the people around the world. This was not how we were designed. And technology has really been a beautiful way of connecting us to what's going on around the world, to all of our loved ones in different cities and states and all of the things. And it's not necessarily supportive to soothing our nervous system to be taking that in all of the time. So Our nervous system does not differentiate whether a threat is something that we read about or watched, or whether it's something happening in our physical environment. Since our nervous systems were designed to relate to things in our physical environment, it just assumes that all of it is happening right here, right now. So that can even mean entertainment that you're consuming, right? Paying attention to, are you feeling like in fight or flight based on what you're watching, what TV, what podcast, particularly before you go to bed. This can be a big one of what are you intentionally consuming for your nervous system to feel more at ease and safe, as opposed to taking on the stresses of the world. Another self-care practice that can be in this category is really limiting when you take in the news or how much news you take in. I even choose to be reading news more than watching it. My imagination is enough. That is more gentle on my nervous system to be reading it. This can mean putting limits around social media and how often you're on, like constantly taking in what's going on in everybody else's life. It can mean just time off of your phone in general. Even the text messages coming in from loved ones about what's going on with them can be a lot. It impacts you. Emails coming in from work about what's needed from you, etc. So that's in the intentionally consume category. G in a line stands for get moving or gently move. So this can mean exercise in some shape or form. It can mean shaking, stomping in the ground, dancing. It can mean something as small as moving from one environment to another one, right? That might feel more soothing. So it could be choosing to work for the second half of your day in another location, outside or in a different chair or what have you. So getting moving can mean intuitive stretching. It does not need to be like vigorous exercise, but it can be if that feels good to you. And the last one is maybe my favorite one and is for nature. I cannot emphasize enough that the natural, healing, grounding, beautiful life force energy of nature is extremely soothing to our nervous system. So this is a big part of my Reiki sessions. This doesn't necessarily need to mean immersing yourself in nature by going outside and connecting with nature in that way. That is one option for you if that feels accessible and good and easy. There are so many other ways to connect with nature that do not require you going outside. So other practices can mean having plants in your home. It can be gazing out a window, watching birds for a little bit. It can mean opening a window and receiving some fresh air. You could change the screensavers on your devices to be images of nature, hang more images of nature in your home. Really being intentional about the environments where you want to be creative as well, really tuning into how you can bring more earth, water, fire, or air into that space. So I have like a little fountain going here, if that is appealing to you. That is, you can also play here. A lot of these categories overlap, but you can play here with natural sounds. Insight Timer is a free app that I love recommending for. Not only does it have meditations from teachers all over the world, so there are such a diverse array of meditations there. There's a whole section on music. If you're in that listen category too, there's meditative music or nature sounds. There's a lot of options there. So that's Insight Timer, if that is intriguing to you. But coming back to nature and connecting to nature. This can mean having crystals around. This can be, again, essential oils. It can be when you use an essential oil diffuser that also has the water element, but also pumping scents into the air. So that's a really beautiful one. Connecting to water. If you want to very intentionally have a glass of water before you start your day to connect with water, or washing your hands and like releasing the energy from what you were just doing as you're washing your hands and connecting with water in that way. Endless amount of options here. It can go in so many directions. If you're having any sort of stumbling block around connecting with any of these categories, please reach out to me per usual. I can talk directly to you about how this fits into your daily lifestyle, but we really want to come up with something that feels easy, something small, something that we can start with that has some sort of buy-in from our body. So some part of us is like, maybe that one feels a little creative or playful, or I'm curious about it, or it seems inspiring, or that seems so easy that there's no way that that could really greatly impact my life in a positive way. That's the one. Do that one. Because I promise you it is the easy one that we will do more frequently. And it is actually weaving this in consistently is the piece that's going to cause not only immediate relief that you will experience, but over time, this is what really grows our capacity for resilience. This is what really lessens the intensity of our activated states when we do get activated. When we are doing these small, easy practices of self-care in a consistent way, it's like doing reps at the gym before doing a marathon, doing like smaller pieces before the big event. It is like investing in your healing bank account, little pieces over and over and over again, so that you can make a big withdrawal and make a huge purchase that feels really good to you. So we want it to be easy. We want it to be small. A lot of the conditioning in our modern world tells us it needs to be hard and a big, complicated challenge in order for it to work. That is not the case here. So really encouraging you to tune into first, maybe what category feels like the one you want to explore, and then get really specific about what actual practice is it that you want to experiment with first. We're only looking at what you want to do over the next 7 days. You're not making some huge commitment. You don't need to choose the right one that is going to work for you all day, every day, for the rest of time, every day of the week, what have you. That's not what we're doing. Choose the one piece that feels easy, has some playfulness around it, maybe some curiosity, something that might feel so ridiculously easy that it doesn't seem like it'll work. Choose that one. If there's something in your body that says, "Ooh, I mean, if this works, that'd be great." Choose that one. So I want you to get really clear on what the content, what is the self-practice that you want to experiment with, and then we'll get into when, how long, and how frequently you want to implement it in another video. But for this video, get really clear on what it is. What is the practice? Do you want to play with your breath? Do you want to play with walking outside? Do you want to play with bringing nature elements into your environment? What is the content that feels good to you that you just want to start with first? And I invite you to write it down. so we don't get all into overwhelm and all the options that feel really good. Just for this first one, we're going to write it down. You can always come back to this process and either add another layer to your practice or choose a completely different practice to add to your toolkit. But for our process, choose one and write it down. I'm so excited about what you chose. If you want to share it with me, please do. I will see you in the next video, and we'll talk more about creating the full intention around your self-care practice that is very measurable and tangible, and so that you know whether or not you've done it over the last 7 days. Okay, take beautiful care of yourself. I will see you in the next video when you're ready.